Okay, in 1999, in the state of Israel, a man began hiccuping. And this was one of those cases. It went on and on. He tried everything his friends suggested. Nothing seemed to help. Days went by. At a certain point, the man, still hiccuping, had sex with his wife. And lo and behold, the hiccups went away. And he told his doctor, who published a case report in a Canadian medical journal under the title, "Sexual Intercourse is a Potential Treatment for Intractable Hiccups." I love this article because at a certain point they suggested that unattached hiccupers could try masturbation. I love that because there's like a whole demographic, unattached hiccupers. No, married, single, unattached hiccupper. In the 1900s, early 1900s, gynecologists, a lot of gynecologists, believed that when a woman has an orgasm, the contractions serve to suck the semen up through the cervix and sort of deliver it really quickly to the egg, thereby upping the odds of conception. It was called the upsuck theory. And if you go all the way back to Hippocrates, physicians believed that orgasm in women was not just helpful for conception, but necessary. You would have the doctors back then were routinely telling men the importance of pleasuring their wives. Marriage manual author and semen sniffer Theodore Van de Velde has a line in his book. I love this guy. I got a lot of mileage out of Theodore Van de Velde. He had this line in his book that supposedly comes from the Habsburg monarchy, where there was an Empress Maria Theresa who was having trouble conceiving, and apparently the royal court physician said to her, "I am of the opinion that the vulva of your most sacred majesty be titillated for some time prior to intercourse." It's apparently, I don't know, on the record somewhere. Masters and Johnson, now we're moving forward to the 1950s. Masters and Johnson were upsuck skeptics, which is also really fun to say. They didn't buy it. And they decided, being Masters and Johnson, that they would get to the bottom of it. They brought women into the lab, I think it was 5 women, and outfitted them with cervical caps containing artificial semen. And in the artificial semen was a radio-opaque substance such that it would show up on an X-ray. Just amazing. This is the 1950s. Anyway, these women sat in front of an X-ray device and they masturbated, and the Masters and Johnson looked to see if the semen was being sucked up. Did not find any evidence of upsuck. You may be wondering, how do you make artificial semen? I have an answer for you. I have 2 answers. You can use flour and water or cornstarch and water. I actually found 3 separate recipes in the literature. My favorite being the one that says, they have the ingredients listed, and then, in a recipe it'll say, for example, yield 2 dozen cupcakes. This one said yield 1 ejaculate. There's another way that orgasm might boost fertility. This one involves men. Sperm that sit around in the body for a week or more start to develop abnormalities that make them less effective at headbanging their way into the egg. British sexologist Roy Levin has speculated that this is perhaps why men evolved to be such enthusiastic and frequent masturbators. He said, if I keep tossing myself off, I get fresh sperm being made, which I thought was an interesting theory. So now you have an evolutionary excuse. Okay. Alrighty. There is considerable evidence for upsuck in the animal kingdom. Pigs, for instance. In Denmark, the Danish National Committee for Pig Production found out that if you sexually stimulate a sow while you artificially inseminate her, you will see a 6% increase in the farrowing rate, which is the number of piglets produced. So they came up with this plan, this 5-point stimulation plan for the sows, and they had the farmers, there's posters they put in the barn, and they had a DVD, and I got a copy of this DVD. And this is my unveiling, because I'm going to show you a clip. Okay, now here we go. See, in it, la la la, off to work. And it all looks very innocent. Okay, he's going to be doing things with his hands that the boar would use his snout. Lacking hands. Okay. This is the boar has a very odd courtship repertoire. This is to mimic the weight of the boar. You should know the clitoris of the pig inside the vagina. So this may be sort of titillating for her. Here we go. So, and the happy result. I love this video. There's a point in this video towards the beginning where they zoom in for a close-up of his hand with his wedding ring, like as if to say, it's okay, it's just his job. He really does like women. Okay, now I said when I was in Denmark, my host was named Anne-Marie, and I said, so why don't you just stimulate the clitoris of the pig? Why don't you have the farmers do that? That's not one of your 5 steps. She said, I have to read you what she said because I love it. She said, it was a big hurdle just to get farmers to touch underneath the vulva. So we thought, let's not mention the clitoris right now. Shy but ambitious pig farmers, however, can purchase, this is true, a sow vibrator that hangs on the sperm feeder tube to vibrate. Because as I mentioned, the clitoris is inside the vagina, so possibly, a little more arousing than it looks. And I also said to her, now these sows, you may have noticed the sow doesn't look to be in the throes of ecstasy. And she said, you can't make that conclusion because animals don't register pain or pleasure on their faces in the same way that we do. They tend to, pigs, for example, are more like dogs. They use the upper half of the face. The ears are very expressive, so you're not really sure what's going on with the pig. Primates, on the other hand, we use our mouths more. This is the ejaculation face of the stump-tailed macaque. And, interestingly, this has been observed in female macaques, but only when mounting another female. Masters and Johnson in the 1950s, they decided, okay, we're going to figure out the entire human sexual response cycle, from arousal all the way through orgasm in men and women, everything that happens in the human body. Okay, with women, a lot of this is happening inside. This did not stop. Masters and Johnson, they developed an artificial coition machine. And this is basically a penis camera on a motor. There's a phallus, clear acrylic phallus with a camera and a light source attached to a motor that's kind of going like this. And the woman would have sex with it, and that's what they would do. Pretty amazing. Sadly, this device has been dismantled. This just kills me, not because I wanted to use it. I wanted to see it. One fine day, Alfred Kinsey decided to calculate the average distance traveled by ejaculated semen. This was not idle curiosity. Dr. Kinsey had heard, and there was a theory kind of going around at the time, this being the 1940s, that the force with which semen is thrown against the cervix was a factor in fertility. And Kinsey thought it was bunk, so he got to work. He got together in his lab 300 men, a measuring tape, and a movie camera. And in fact, he found that in 3/4 of the men, the stuff just kind of slopped out. It wasn't spurted or thrown or ejected under great force. However, the record holder landed just shy of the 8-foot mark, which is impressive. Yes, exactly. Sadly, he's anonymous. His name is not mentioned. In his write-up of this experiment, in his book, Kinsey wrote, 2 sheets were laid down to protect the oriental carpets. Which is my second favorite line in the entire oeuvre of Alfred Kinsey, my favorite being, cheese crumbs spread before a pair of copulating rats will distract the female, but not the male. Thank you very much. Thanks.